Welcome back to Timeless Terrors, exploring the Texas killing fields. The emergence of a new serial killer is not just a shocking headline. It raises questions about our humanity and the conditions that create such turmoil. Recently, a disturbing case gained a lot of attention. A truck driver with a seemingly ordinary life turned into a serial killer and is believed to have murdered at least 8 people across Texas. It's shocking to think that someone who was just driving around making deliveries could be hiding such a dark secret. The police are investigating a suspect who they believe may have been involved in the deaths of more than 50 individuals. This troubling figure has emerged from an extensive investigation into a series of unsolved homicides that span several years. Authorities are currently piecing together evidence and looking into the suspect's background, activities, and potential connections to these crimes. And because all of his victims were sex workers, they don't think anyone will come forward to say they knew them or even admit that they were missing. Prepare yourself, because this story doesn't hold back. It's an exploration of fear, secrets, and the human experience in its rawest form. So, take a deep breath, and let's embark on this haunting journey together. Samuel Little, a convicted serial killer, confessed to the brutal murders of 8 women over several years. All 8 women worked as prostitutes and had been strangled to death. His chilling admissions included not only the details of the killings, but also the locations where he had disposed of the bodies. After his confessions, he guided investigators to various sites, providing them with invaluable information that helped bring closure to the families of the victims. In 2012, the police found the remains of 3 of the women near a motel in Houston. 3 more sets of remains were found in a wooded area next to a freeway, not too far from the motel. After finding these remains, the police were able to link all 5 deaths together. They also connected Samuel Little to 2 other murders in Pasadena, which brought the total to 7 confirmed victims. The case surrounding Samuel Little is particularly troubling due to the nature of the victims involved. All of the women he targeted were engaged in sex work, which raises significant challenges in establishing a clear and accurate count of the number of individuals he took their lives. Many of these women lived marginalized lives, often facing various societal and legal obstacles that complicated their situations. His alleged kill list includes names from coast to coast, so the real number could be a lot higher than we think. Samuel Little was finally arrested after a traffic stop in Kentucky for driving a stolen truck. When the police ran his name through the system, they discovered he had an outstanding warrant for failing to register as a sex offender. This was because of a sexual assault conviction back in 1974. Little had served almost 6 years in prison before being released. He failed to register as a sex offender, which landed him back behind bars. He was released again in 2004, after serving time for a series of criminal offenses that had long defined his turbulent past. However, this newfound freedom was short-lived, as he soon found himself entangled in a far more serious situation. By 2005, he was arrested and charged with murder, a crime that would lead him down a much darker path. He told the police where to find all of the bodies and gave them details about each of the killings. Even though he gave up the locations of the bodies, Little still pleaded not guilty during his arraignment. During the hearing, he sat quietly with his head down while prosecutors revealed that he had confessed to killing the 8 women. According to Harris County Assistant District Attorney John Jordan, Little described in detail how he killed the women, where he dumped their bodies, and even showed the officers how he did it. As the prosecutor laid out the grim details of the case, detailing the heinous nature of the crimes, Little showed no sign of remorse or emotion. His eyes remained blank, almost vacant, as he listened to the accusations. The gravity of the situation hung in the air, yet he seemed unfazed, presenting an unsettling contrast to the emotional turmoil of the families present, who were grappling with their profound loss. He only spoke to confirm his name, address, and that he understood the charges against him. A judge set his bail at $10 million. Who are the victims? Who are the individuals affected by this situation? It is important to identify the victims involved and understand their circumstances. This helps to shed light on the impact of the events they have experienced. One of the first women to be identified was Mary Jane Thigpen. She was reported missing by her family in 1996. At the time, she was 25 years old. Her skeletal remains were found in a shallow grave by a group of teenagers playing near a bayou in Pasadena. For years, the police had no idea who the victim was. Her body had been so decomposed that they couldn't tell if she was black or white. They also didn't know if she had been a murder victim, or if perhaps she had overdosed and died. Because she was found in an area known for prostitution and drug dealing, the police assumed the worst. They thought she was a prostitute who had gone out to meet a client and never came home. DNA testing was performed, but there was no match with any missing persons, not until recently when the DNA entered a national database and yielded a hit. That's when the police learned the young woman's identity. They then tracked down her sister, who confirmed it was her. Another one of Little's victims was a 30-year-old named Jessica Kane. Yet another victim was identified as 29-year-old Andrea Denise Young. She was last seen on December 1, 2002, in the parking lot of a Days Inn. She was checking in for a night stay. Then suddenly she disappeared without a trace. Her body was found in the same wooded area where Jessica Kane's remains were discovered. None of the families were willing to comment on the record about their loved ones, but relatives of the victims did take to social media to express their grief and outrage. One Facebook user wrote, "I love you, Auntie Kay. May you finally rest in peace." Another said, "No words can express how disgusted I am at the evil person who did this to my cousin." So what do we know about Samuel Little? Well, he is already a suspect in at least 30 other murders in multiple states. As I said earlier, he claims to have killed over 50 women, but authorities are struggling to verify any of those additional killings. In fact, most of his alleged victims are unidentified. Some of his alleged crimes date back as far as the 80s. He is accused of murdering women in California, Florida, Georgia, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Missouri, Nevada, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Virginia, and Washington. The FBI believes there are at least 30 other victims. Little has given details about every one of his alleged murders, but he won't specify exactly how many women he's killed. He says he doesn't remember. This seems odd, considering he has given very graphic details about every single killing he's admitted to. So why wouldn't he remember the total number? It makes you wonder if he is a remorseless monster. Little was interviewed by the FBI Behavioral Analysis Unit, and they claim he was extremely cooperative. In a statement, the FBI said, "During the course of several voluntary interviews that took place between Little and the FBI in late January and early February of 2012, Little provided numerous details about his crimes, including descriptions of the victims' characteristics, the locations where he disposed of their bodies, and the specific means, manner, and motive for each murder." After conducting those interviews, the FBI was convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that Little was a serial killer who had been targeting female prostitutes. They say he would approach his victims on the street and then strangle them to death. He would then dump their bodies in remote areas and sometimes use concrete to weigh the bodies down. The question is, how did the police miss him? When Little was arrested in 2012, he had a GPS ankle monitor on his leg. The police have never explained how he managed to go undetected for so long. It wasn't until his probation officer noticed that he had been visiting some very unfamiliar areas that they began to suspect something was wrong. A few days later, they found out why. It's pretty amazing that this man managed to evade the police for so long. He killed 8 women, maybe dozens more, and the police somehow missed him. It's not like they weren't looking for him either. When all those bodies were found in the wooded area, everyone was convinced that they were dealing with a serial killer. But for some reason, they didn't look at Samuel Little. Sure, he was on probation for failing to register as a sex offender, but he was wearing an ankle monitor. So if they pulled up his file, they would have known that he was exactly where he was supposed to be. That's what makes this case so confusing. Why didn't they look at him? He was living in a hotel near where at least 3 of the women were killed. He was also living in the general area where most of the bodies were found. It's not like he was hiding his face or anything. He had used his real name when checking into the motel. It's almost as if the police were looking everywhere except where they needed to be looking. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Please share your insights, opinions, or any personal experiences in the comments below. Whether you agree or disagree, your voice is valuable, and I'm eager to read what you have to say. And that's all for today, folks. Thank you so much for joining me on this spine-chilling journey through today's creepypasta stories. I hope you enjoyed the tales and that they sent a few shivers down your spine. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more eerie content like this.